It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show.
The only show about Latinos for Latinos. And did we mention Latinos?
It's latísima.
Latinos come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy chips and salsa.
People love chips and salsa.
Guess what, boys and girls, chipsters, chipsteros, chipsteras? It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show, Nuevo Mexico, New Mexico. My name is Alice Lara, and also on the other side of the screen is
Zeke Rodriguez.
He is the Zeke. The sexy New Mexican, and he is the Zekinator.
I had to say it.
So we're in different locations, but that's okay. It works.
Yeah.
We have a great show for you today. And just I like to always tell people, we are, what we do is we record the show, and then it is uploaded by our wonderful executive producer, Eric Williamson. It's uploaded to Rumble and as well as YouTube. So thank you for your support on both of those two platforms as a follower or a subscriber. And please tell your friends. We are, getting a lot of, I'm out and about and people are like, hey, Chips and Salsa Show, Chips and Salsa Show. So that's good. And I'm a blabbermouth, and Zeke has, mega connections here. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's great. I love doing this. So, what do you want to go over today, Alice? It's, there's a lot going on. Trump is doing great in the polls. He's kicking ass and taking names to the point. He's got the biggest lead, free primary in American history. So, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. You know how he we'll start with this. You know how I learned how he eats every day. You know how he eats every day? Because he fears getting poisoned. At any given random moment during lunch, breakfast, or dinner, he'll send multiple staff members from the White House to go get the food. And if anybody gets back in later than an hour, they can't come in the room. And he'll pick at random a bag of food to eat from a designated restaurant.
Are you kidding me?
I swear he does that every day because he totally fears that he's going to get poisoned.
Now, okay, so some people like that, well, that's just crazy. No, it's not.
No,
it's really not.
That's straight from Trump's high-level associates. That's how he lives. He's that much of a imagine living like that. You can't trust the food that you put in your mouth every day. That's wild.
But he has to live that way. Mark and I were talking about this. Of course, we're big pro-Trumpers, and he gets in. Well, first I should tell you, Oscar El Blue, do you ever follow him? He's the border reporter, lives in Tijuana. He's fantastic. No. So he did like a live chat the other day, and I listened for a little bit. And somebody put in the chat room a question about, so what do you think about Trump? Is he going to get elected? What's going to happen? And he really kind of said, he says, well, you know what? Trump gets elected, there's going to be riots, kind of riots and craziness happens. And then he says, and if Trump doesn't get elected, there's going to be riots and crazy things happening. Yeah. So I say that because I think he's got to be that way, because even if he gets in, they're still going to be after him. They're so relentless. So what you're right on with that. I'm glad you opened the show with that because it's huge.
It's that big of a deal, and it's a big deal to run as a candidate this next year around. There's, I think we talked about this previously, but there's Republican conservative candidates all around the world who are getting poisoned, who are getting shot in the face, who are getting indicted and getting in prison. It's just happening everywhere. But even still, they're still winning. Look at the new president of Argentina. Thank the Lord he got in there. He's the most outspoken anti-communist I've ever seen. Everything that comes out of his mouth is how horrible Marxism is. And I love that about that guy. So I'm excited to see how he's going to be.
What does that also say? And you see the South American countries, and they're going that way. I was thinking about this the other day because we have so much of an illegal population that's just our border is porous. Maybe that's a good word for it. So they're coming.
Yeah, we got to say line.
Yeah, we want to stay in line.
Nation line divider.
If our country went total socialist communist, we're on the brink right now. There's nowhere to go. So the fact that he got elected, it's very historically moving, I think.
Well, it just goes to show you how much work it really takes for these people to destroy our communities, to destroy the states, and despite all the trillions of printed money that they have and the propaganda that they buy, they still couldn't stop a conservative candidate. And Argentina has been infiltrated by Nazis post World War II for decades, and they were able to get past that and still get someone in there. And so that's why you start seeing all kinds of like pre-programming for power outages. I mean, they can do anything. Our power grid is very vulnerable. There's so many ways for them to not let this election happen, or even if the election does happen, for them to stifle any type of populist or freedom movement. So at that point, it's like, you know what? Who cares? We have to fight. There's nothing that we can do. There's nothing for me that can stop me from continuing to fight. You know, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to keep hanging out with you and doing this show, because what is the alternative, Alice? We're just going to let them run over us and we're just going to die? Like, that's not, I don't think you're like that. That's not how you are, you know? So that's just where we're at. It's just it. It's all on the line right now.
I'm not going to go down without a fight. And you see, I just put something on Facebook. It was actually, you know, our good friend William Beer posted his Facebook page, and it was an ad that came out back in July with Trump, and it was so powerful. And it was basically the message: all this stuff's happening. You know, they're after him, but they're really after us. Yep. And it was very powerful. We can't go down without a fight. Ain't gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
And at this point, I don't. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, and then I'll tell you.
Well, just real quick, I just don't see any point in entertaining any other candidate. Nikki Haley, I love Vivek, but he's young. He's very young relative to, you know, where he's at politically. That guy in 10 years, can you imagine? You know, and him as vice president would be straight gold. He just doesn't have the name brand recognition that Trump does. So I just don't think there's any reason to entertain any other candidate. Even on the Democratic side, the Democrats don't have anyone to go for either. You know, he's going to get all these votes, and they're freaking out because even if he's got 20-point lead, even with the illegal immigrants, they still can't win. So we're going to start seeing some sparks fly, but go ahead.
No, absolutely. And okay, now I lost my train of thought. What was I going to tell you? I'm terrible. It's terrible. I say, oh, Alice, you can hang on to it. You can keep it. I know what it was.
Okay. Thank
God.
So
speaking of that, you know, they released the J6 tapes. They've got 40,000 hours of January 6 tapes. 40,000 hours. And a lot of that stuff you and I have seen, people that are paying attention, and where they let them all in and everything. And so I want to give it to the speaker for finally doing that, you know, and actually getting all that information out. And we'll see what kind of coverage that's out there. So I try to take things on a positive note. I just love saying 40,000 hours January 6 tapes.
Yeah, do you see some? I'm sure you saw some of it, right? I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, well, it's not awesome because we have Joe Biggs in prison right now for shaking a fence, because it was an insurrection, and he's been tortured. You know, he's got those metal handcuffs that have been on. You're only supposed to have them on, the ones that lock the hands together. You're only supposed to have them on for an hour. He's had them on for 9 hours at a time, sometimes longer. They starved him. Owen Schroyer's been in solitary confinement, you know, for weeks now, and for what? Because Owen Schroyer basically said that the elections have issues, that there's election fraud, and Joe Biggs shook a fence during January 6th. So people need to really understand. I get really upset with the Republican establishment, the conservatives, especially the Daily Wire. You know, Matt Walsh, I love him, all those guys, Ben Shapiro, but they don't even talk about the serious stuff that's going on to our conservative voices out there. And they could use their platforms to bring light to how horrible these January 6 prisoners are being treated. And so I hope that with this new footage that's out there, we can really get these gentlemen some constitutional freedom and you know, some justice.
And you're right, you know, unless they are, and sometimes this does happen, they are talking about it, but it won't get covered. But because they have their own platforms, you're right. It's just like the border. You know, every time we do our show, we make it a point to talk about the border. And you have to keep bringing these things up because there's so much stuff out there people forget, and especially because they're not visible. But you know, torturing. Can you believe this? This shouldn't be Russia. My God.
It's right. We're right there, and that's all desperate moves on their part, and it's falling apart. It's just such a crazy time to be alive, Alice. I mean, what are you feeling? What else? So with the January 6th footage, where do you see that leading? How do you see that unfolding for the American people?
Well, I feel hopeful And I think there's so much of it, it cannot be ignored. I think here's where I see it. Okay. People watch Newsmax, they can watch Fox, and you can watch your favorite people, whatever. I still haven't seen enough footage that's actually out there on those platforms. But all of the smaller ones, even ours, okay, there are a lot of people, the YouTubes pop up, the Rumble channels pop up, and these guys, they may not be world famous or anything, but they have hundreds of thousands of followers. So if enough of us kind of talk about it, the border and the J6, and there'll be clips you can have, like you've seen those reviewers where they come out and they're in the corner and they say, hey, did you see this? And then they kind of review a little short video. If we can do some of that, I think that kind of is even more impactful because, and tell me if you think that I'm wrong on this. People at that level, you start you start watching those people, the Benny Johnsons also. Benny Johnson still, he's more celebrity status, but people start trusting information or trusting Zeke Rodriguez because they know he's going to talk about something important and he's not going to try to BS you. So that might actually, it might be to our benefit. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
That's where it's going. The fact of the matter is that independent media is the new outlet for news, and it's people like us that the people trust because they know us, they see us, they identify with us. But with the January 6th stuff, yeah, they need to be freeing these people right away, and people need to wake up to the fact that the government people just need to simply read the Declaration of Independence. It boggles my mind with the fact the founding fathers gave us they told us exactly what was going to happen. This is what's going to happen if you let your government run amok. They're going to try to take your guns. They're going to try to take your speech. They're going to try and take your religion away. And at that point in time, you need to abolish it and create a new one. And, that's just where we're at right now. I hate to be that guy, but you can read that Declaration of Independence word for word, which I was actually considering doing on a post and just say, hey, look at this is where we're at, guys. The federal government is not our friend. They've got provocateurs. You saw it on the Jan 6 footage. They're throwing freaking grenades in the crowds. FBI agents were all like camoed up, wearing black suits, but they got a MAGA hat on, and they're showing their badges. They're going past checkpoints and stuff. It's
Mark was just talking about that today. I mean, it's on video. You can see it. They can't deny it. They can deny it, but really they can't because there's the proof.
It's so much power they have. And they're using it against us. Mm-hmm. And so they're going after the one thing that made this country, we the people, and they've been doing it for quite a while. We're just kind of seeing it percolate out of the dungeons of the hell as of late, but they've been trying to get at us for a long time. They don't like us, folks, right?
Yeah, and I've been toying with doing this. I've thought about it a long time. It's just you have to have continuity and be able to do it. But I'm thinking about every day on Facebook, just posting. Like I kind of started it yesterday, and I put up our own Congressman Gabe Vasquez, his contact information. Yes. Because of course, everyone knows that we support Yvette Harrell. We're hoping that she
love Yvette Harrell.
Yeah. And I think she will. I really do. I feel pretty confident about that. Yeah, but I want to put it out that I think that we need to start calling these people. I mean, I've done that. I did call him last month or a couple months ago, and I got a hold of a young man who's very nice. I believe his name was Andrew. He's very nice. And I was specifically asking about the border, and the response that I was given, he didn't really give. He said, I can't really answer. I'll send you our statement. Whatever.
What a pussy.
But it's those Republicans that, they're not working with us. And of course, I said, full disclosure, I'm a Republican and I really can't accept that answer. But my thought is, if every day I put out a different number of an official or someone to call, here's a topic of the day, whatever you think. I put border disorder, Gabe Vasquez, I put his phone number. I think I even put the local address. He has a local office here in Las Cruces.
Yeah.
And if few people, just kind of bug him. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's going to change the world necessarily, but what I like about it, I thought on 2 points, it gets their information out and they know, oh, somebody might say, I didn't know he had a local office, because that is, no matter if you voted for him or not, he is our congressperson, our representative, and is supposed to be representing us. You have any issues, you should call him. Well, I had a wonderful congressman, and I'm not going to talk forever, but Congressman John Shadegg, I don't know if you ever heard of him. But
I like the name Shadegg. That's awesome.
Shadid, yeah. And he served in Congress while I was in Arizona. He was my congressman. And he had a really great staff. You could call if you had a question about something medical or whatever. He had people who were knowledgeable. They were quick to respond. And I was in the talk radio world at that point, and he would come on. And I'm going to tell you one thing that was even much more impressive. And I see you doing this very easily, maybe when you get to Congress or when you're elected at the state level. So my job as a producer, it'd be 5:30 in the morning. We were doing our morning show. Oh, Alice, go get Congressman Shadid online. And, that's DC a couple hours ahead of us. And so I called them and something was breaking news. At that point, it wasn't like you could go online. Everything was still in the newspaper and things. So I grabbed the phone and we have like a 2-minute commercial until he goes on with the host. I said, Congressman Shadid, you probably haven't even heard the story. I read him the 3 paragraphs of the story. I read it to him on the phone. He comes on with the host. It's like he had just a steel trap mind and he knew everything that he was talking about. And I mean, it was awesome. Smart guy, and so easy to support someone like that. And one more thing that he said that always sticks in my head too. He came to our Republican women's meeting and he said, the political signs, the little yard signs that you put, he goes, those are really worth gold because unless your neighbor hates you, but your neighbor likes you and you put that sign out and say, oh, Zeke's for that person. Okay. I mean, it's influential. It really is.
Oh, big time. The sign. I mean, we did a little. I think I told you about this. We did a little investigation of my race last time, and where I had the most signage is where I had the most votes. I beat my opponent in her own neighborhood because in her neighborhood I had the most signs.
You had more signs.
There was a direct correlation with the signage and the votes. It really was. It was really weird to see. So this next year, yeah, I'm going to take your congressman's advice and go ahead and ramp that up. Even I could have put more money into it if I wanted to. But this next year, we're going to go all in. We'll keep the Mr. Goodbar theme. But yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and do a lot of different stuff this time around. I think the Democrats are waiting for an extension of an arm. They're awake. A lot of them are waking up to horrible policies of their party. They know now that they're just slimy people. These Democrats that are in there are slimy people. So I'm going to go out of my way to let them know that I am not a far right MAGA extremist, you know what I mean? White supremacist. I'm sensible person, just like you are, Alice. We're all sensible people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I see really good things next year. I do. It's weird. I don't know why I'm so optimistic. I've always been optimistic. I'm an optimistic guy.
Yes, you are.
I'm trying to be a little bit more cynical, just because it's not too healthy to be that optimistic. But it's like, hey. What do I gotta say? My gut says things are going in the right direction. I see a lot of people waking up all the time. I mean, have you met one? It's funny because you'll see MAGA Latinos, right? That's a big trend right now. MAGA Latino rappers, MAGA Latinos everywhere. Where are the Biden Latinos? Where are the Biden rappers at? You don't see that anymore. Yeah,
I haven't seen Latinos for Biden or anything. I that's a very good point.
Where are these youthful Biden rappers coming from? Like. You don't see it.
But I like your attitude, and I think it is important. One thing I've seen you in forums, I've seen you debate. You're a good debater, and you're not afraid to be bold.
Nobody can beat me in this state. Nobody can beat me. Maybe Yvette Harold. Yvette Harold's the only one that can beat me.
And very Trump-like in that you'll say things as they are. You're not afraid.
That gets me in trouble sometimes.
It can, but I respect that. And I will say too, because I remember there was one forum and it was a question. I'm like, it was really far out in the weeds or something. I thought, I wonder if Zeke's going to know about that. And you handled it so well because you said, I don't know enough about that. You just didn't try to BS your way. Anybody else, I guarantee you, most other politicians go, well, they would have gone all what's the name of the gal, Corinne, the spokesperson? Yeah, they would have gone all what I'll say about this and
the double speak.
Yeah, the double speak. And you won't do that. You'll just say, let me get back to that. Let me do some research. And I will. And you just handle it very well. It's very impressive. So having that one race behind you and other things that you've been involved with and other races, it's going to make you a very strong candidate. I can't wait until you officially announce. We're going to have to do a big deal about it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you.
Hopefully soon. These are looking good. I got to catch up on some meetings next week. And if things look good there, then we'll be announcing by the end of the year. Hopefully, I want to get it out before Christmas if possible. I want to start walking in February, March. I don't care about the cold. I'll be out there in the cold. That doesn't bother me. I just really want to spend a lot more time with the Democrats. It was the poor indigent neighborhoods that I had a hard time with. So I'll be attacking that full frontal. If they kill me, they kill me. Whatever. They're going to come
Well,
after
you're
me.
pretty street savvy. I think you'll do fine. And if you want to talk about it, I know recently you've been in the last few days, you've been traveling, and I wanted to ask you about your travels, if there's anything you'd like to share with the audience out there about that.
Yeah, I've been catching up with some old business affiliates, friends, doing some networking out in California. Went to LA, and it's $7 a gallon.
$7.
$7 a gallon, and there's homeless everywhere. I was in Albuquerque last night, and I was in off Central, and I was telling the Uber driver, I was like, damn, Albuquerque's pretty freaking nice now. Like, it seems like they cleaned it up. Everybody has been super friendly to me up here. I feel like I'm in Las Cruces. I don't know what's going on here in Albuquerque. Either putting acid in the water or what, or maybe it's all the weed that's flying around.
Did the Chinese guy visit? No. Like they cleaned up San Francisco.
Maybe, yeah, I guess, I don't know, but the Albuquerque's been really clean, and everybody's been super freaking friendly up here. I don't know what it is. I guess I got the glow or something, but it was interesting though, because as I was complimenting Albuquerque with my Uber driver, we're going down Central, and it's up there by the university area, and I need to go to Walgreens to get some basic stuff, floss and all that, and boom, two of the biggest, most armed security Suburbans you'd ever seen. And you walk in there, and these dudes there, and they're fully armed. They're more armed than the police department, and they're just there doing security for Walgreens, just basic Walgreens. Wow. And they got them at Target, and they got them at Walmart now. Well,
and you know what? That's probably is the answer, because you can't depend on the police force. You better hire your own security. Maybe they had to do that.
And a lot of the Walgreens in that area were just closed. They just closed. They closed at like 7 p.m. But
and they closed the big Walmart up there, right?
Yeah, and I asked the guards too. I was like, they should be, because in order to get, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, a lot of you probably have, but if you go to these Walgreens where they've got these massively armed security, these guys are like cartoon armed up. They got bulletproof vests and guns. It's crazy. But they got the whole aisles locked up. So if you want anything, you got to push a button and then wait for an attendant to come and unlock it for you, then they'll pull it off, So I was telling the guard, I was like, they should just be training you guys on how to unlock these things. They should give you the key. I mean, if you're going to be standing here anyway, you might as well unlock it for me. So he starts laughing, but yeah, it's a different world out there, Alice. I haven't been out and about for about a year. As you know, it's been a crazy year for me the last year, but being around California, being around Arizona, being around Albuquerque, it's just a different country. It's not at all I love it here still. It's America. It's like, God bless this country, but the vibes are not even close to the way I grew up. It's I don't even want to say it's sad. It's just surreal, because this is just the reality of our life today. So I'm honored to be here with you and to be fighting to bring that freedom back, to bring back what we grew up with and what we know is best for humanity.
Well, same here. And it's interesting what you say about Albuquerque, because it makes me think of I was just seeing a report about New York, and that's how this, excuse me, how the stores are there in New York. They have everything locked up. So you walk in and that's how you buy stuff.
Yeah. Never in my mind thought that would ever be something, it was like bizarro world. You really can't. I feel like I'm at war, But it was cool. Like I said, aside from that, this is the best experience I've ever had in Albuquerque this past week. Everybody was so freaking nice to me. I mean, over the top nice to me. I couldn't even. Today was icing on the cake. We went to Balderas breakfast, and famous breakfast joint here. They got really good chicharrones. And man, everybody was saying good morning. Everybody would say, hey, have a great day. How are you guys doing? Where are you guys from? Firefighters, just regular people, the server, everybody was smiling. It was like I was in another freaking world. It was a dream. I couldn't believe I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and everybody was so damn friendly, and everybody was having such a damn good time, just drinking coffee, eating breakfast. Beautiful thing to see.
Like it reverted back to how it was, because I've always liked Albuquerque. We almost moved to Albuquerque instead of Phoenix, as a matter of fact,
really?
This was a long time ago.
Wow.
A long time ago. So that's very interesting. Did anybody have an idea why it's all turned around now, or a little bit, it felt better?
I asked the Uber drivers about it, and they're just like, well, they've done a lot of work downtown, there's still pockets of the homeless and the hardcore drug usage, but the Central was a lot more clean than I was. The last time I was down here was about a year, like 6 or 7 months ago. And I was here regularly before that too. And it was rough. I mean, you'd see like guys with no legs getting pulled around on their wheelchair with dogs and stuff. It was like real Mad Maxy. But that wasn't the case this past week. It wasn't the case at all. The streets were clean. I didn't really see any homeless people on Central. I really didn't. Unbelievable, right? A freaking miracle.
Well, good for
So
them. Well, didn't they just have some elections that were kind of surprising and that
yeah, they
some
got a couple conservative
elections?
city council members. I don't know what they did, but it was almost unrecognizable how clean and how little crime there was going on over the weekend in Albuquerque. I was downtown on Central Albuquerque, like I was in the freaking war zone, and I had a great time. I was treated like a king. Great food, great company. Just random people were just keeping me company. They saw me sit by myself. Bartenders would come just ask me questions, and everybody was pretty conservative. Everybody was like, yeah, we got to get Trump in there, or hey, things got to change. I didn't run into really any hardcore libs either. So, hey, if that tells you anything, that downtown Albuquerque is a lot nicer and cleaner and conservative than I've ever experienced, I think that says a lot.
Wow. Well, maybe that's good, and the trend will kind of come down here. I mean, we can hope, right?
I guess I don't know what it was. I mean, I talked to the other guys who are like basically like me and you up here in Albuquerque and Bernalillo. They have their Elephant in the Room podcast. Shout out to you guys, Josh and Dukes, the awesome dudes, great guys, and they have a hard time with candidates, and they kind of gave us a lot of credit that we have a lot better quality candidates in the South. And I don't know what that really means, but they were going over a lot of the Republican candidates that they dealt with, and they're just he tells them just not to run. They're so far off base from what our core values are as a party. He tells a lot of these guys not to run. And so that's what they're struggling with up here. They don't have any quality candidates. Their Republican Party is also not very supportive, to my understanding. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus until I will throw you under the bus, but I want to meet you, talk to you, and see you being not effective in person first. And if that's the case, then I will call you out. But from what I understand, the Republican Party here in Bernalillo County is not very supportive to voter fraud. They really don't do anything at all to go out of their way to fix election integrity and stuff like that. And that's where a lot of the big problems are up here. A lot of work to do.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. So that's really that's a good report. Now, Rio Rancho, which is just right next to Albuquerque, and probably third largest city or something like that.
Yeah.
Henry said we were the second one. Las Cruces is second largest.
We're number 2. Yep.
Wow, pretty good.
Right.
But Rio Rancho has a lot of conservative people there, right?
Yeah, Rio Rancho is super conservative. The hard liberal parts are right there in downtown Albuquerque, and from what I talked to the Uber, I talked to everybody. I just made conversation, and it is a pretty liberal town. There is a pretty strong liberal presence here, to what I understand. But it seems that the people who are smarter, that are actually like understanding what's really going on, they're the ones who are more involved, and they're the ones who are actually doing the voting, and that's why they were able to turn some of these seats around more successfully than us in Las Cruces, unfortunately. So it's weird. We have a lot of good things going on in Cruces that they're envious of us, and then they got a lot of good things up here that we're envious of them. So it's like, hopefully me and you, Alice, together can bring it all together, bring the North and the South together. I'd love to have you on the Elephant in the Room podcast up there as soon as possible, and then we can bring them on Chips and Salsa, because I'll tell you what, I never had more hope in my life for this state than hanging out with those folks and just basically regurgitating everything that me and you talk about, and all the same issues that Southern Arizona is going through. They're going through it too. We're all in the same boat right now. That was refreshing to hear. I mean, it sucks, but it's refreshing. It's like, okay, we're having the same issues. We can fix them. We can work together and we can fix them.
No, you're right. And then, we need to find like-minded people, because then you can work together and you can be more effective and get your message out as well.
But that's the hard part. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so you were on their podcast? They have you on your podcast?
Yeah, they had me on. It was sporadically. They were going to have me on next week after the Thanksgiving break, but I happened to be there in Albuquerque, and their other host had called in sick or something, and so I jumped in, and it was a very good show. I posted it on my Instagram. It got a lot of views. I got a lot of followers that came out of that, and they invited me to be a permanent guest from that one show. From that one show.
So is that just on Insta? Did you put it anywhere else?
It was just on Insta. We're working together now. We're all in the same boat. Like, he wanted to start out on Insta, but he's realizing now, I was like, dude, you got to get on Rumble, because I was telling him how much success we had on Rumble. And so they have a studio. They have donors. So we're going to work together to get them a nice studio up here. We're going to get our studio on down there. And it was what I told Josh, the guy who founded it, is like, look, these are the most important shows for the entire state of New Mexico. The only way we're going to save this state is by making sure that these shows have all the tools that they need to be broadcasted to the people. Because without the information, just like Henry was saying just a little bit ago, it's all about information. And this is the most important thing that we can do for our state, Alice, is keep doing these shows, keep informing the people what's going on. And he agreed. So we're going to be working together, and we're going to be bridging the North and the South, and we're going to be fighting for freedom. And we're not going to lie down taking it, dude.
No, you're totally right, and that's why I'm so glad that we're doing the show, and we're going to continue. Like I was telling Henry, starting next year, we're really going to work hard too on kind of bringing you candidates, just the same kind of model that we did in Arizona. Just about during election year, almost every show we'd have a candidate, anything from a county board of supervisor, which is like our commissioners here, to somebody running for Congress or the local offices. It's all good. People need to know their candidates. And because if they see them and can hear what they say, at least, and they feel better about voting for them, at least, and knowing something about them. Period.
I agree. Go ahead. You're gonna do something.
So we talked about some national stuff, local stuff. I do want to give a shout out locally to our coalition, the Coalition of Conservatives in Action. I think I shared this with you, Zeke, but if those of you that follow us, they were fighting the Jack of Hearts smut book, and the superintendent Reese said, no, that's okay. You can keep it in the library, even though our fight is that it's not age appropriate. And Sarah Smith, so it's Juan Garcia, who's the chairman of the coalition, and then Sarah Smith, they kind of partnered together to do this. They're going to appeal it, but Sarah was also telling us that there is another book they found that's actually along the same lines, and that is in one of our middle schools. So it's even, and who knows how many are actually out there. We have to go to every library and find that out. But this continues to be a very serious matter. And I know parents still don't know about this. So please, for those of you that follow us, please help us spread the word. I try to post updates on my Facebook page, and follow Sarah Smith. If you're on Facebook, just follow Sarah Smith, follow our page, Coalition of Conservatives in Action. Oh, and by the way, so we had our big Thanksgiving potluck last week. And from here on out, we're not going to have regular meetings again until January. We're going to be gearing up for that, but still follow our page. If you want to get the newsletter, you can do that as well, because we are truly in action. And Henry mentioned Chairman Young of our county party here, Republican Party, he does want to partner with the organization because it's necessary down here. Right, Zeke?
Yeah, I'm going to alley-oop the kudos to CCIA, because the Elephant in the Room podcast had a lot of really positive things to say about Sarah Smith and how organized she was and how detailed her information was regarding the candidates and what they stood for, because a lot of people just don't have no clue about who these candidates are, what they want to do with their power. And so, and I told them that a lot of that was with the CCIA, the organization of the Coalition of Conservatives in Action, again, with the head being Juan Garcia. And it's basically, to me, it's a chain of command. I think Juan does a very good job, establishing a plan, an outline, and a very easy to understand chain of command. So that way there is some structure, there's some organization, and our candidates down here and our grassroots support are more organized and more effective than they are here in Albuquerque, with 600,000 people essentially in the city. So good shout out to CCIA. I want to encourage people to get involved with the CCIA, get involved with the Republican Party. There's no other time in your life that you're going to need to get involved, guys. This is it. You need to do something, and we need your help. And it's an honor. It's an honor to do this stuff, because hell, you're saving humanity. You can't get any more fulfilling than fighting for humanity. I mean, this life is like, 100 years if you're freaking lucky or unlucky. Who wants to live that long? You're here for a very short time. Before you know it, you're going to be, before the big guy, looking at all of the things that you should and shouldn't have done. When right now you're posed with the opportunity to hang out with amazing Americans like Alice here, like me, and I'm proud to say I'm a proud American. You hang out with people like us, fighting for God, fighting for humanity. You can go to sleep at night. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I did something for the children, for my country, for freedom, for humanity. So I'm asking you guys to please get involved, do anything reach out to me directly, nmzeke.com, nmzeke@gmail.com. You can reach out to Alice. We're very accessible people. I'll answer the phone all day. You know, this is what we do, you know, and just think about it. Think about having that fulfillment in your corner because it's worth it. Right, Alice?
Oh, absolutely. And so this is a different show, but we recorded a show, and a lot of it was the whole hour was with Henry Young, who is the GOP, the Republican chairman for Doñana County. And I want to give you the number that he gave us. He gave us basically a direct line to him. So
Yeah.
maybe you're out there and you're thinking, well, I would like to do something, or or get involved or find out information about the Republican Party. And even if you're not a Republican, maybe you're an independent, but you'd like to do something along those lines. But you can call. I'm going to give you this number, and we'll get this posted as well. But it's 575-246-9004. I'm going to repeat that again, and it's Henry's line. He'll probably pick up, or maybe his wife will, Cheryl. 575-296-9004. But there are so many ways that you can get involved, even if you only have time to watch this program and share it with other people. Because just think about all the information that somebody else is going to get who maybe hasn't even thought. And ditto to everything that Zeke said. And there's just not an excuse anymore, because we have a country to save. We have a country to save, because if this country goes, I don't know where to go. Where would you go? Where would you go? Maybe north to Canada? I don't know. And then they have socialism there.
Well, the reality is that we're going to die a slow, painful death if we don't stand up and fight right now. I mean, that's just the reality of it, guys. You look at Marxist takeovers and communist takeovers. Go back in time and go hang out with some Argentinians from the late 90s. Hang out with some people in Colombia when they first got taken over by communism. Go hang out in China when Mao was over there. It wasn't a pleasant time. And it's almost like words can't even describe the horror and the pain and the suffering that these people endured because they had a communist dictator. And because you didn't say the right things, they would kill you. Or like in China, they would take your organs. You know, there's things you can't say because of censorship. But hey, things are going to get really bad, guys, unless we all pull ourselves together and fight for what we know is right. And unfortunately, I think that some people are just going to have to suffer that fate to wake up. And that's fine. That's just, nations fall. That's just the reality of it. But ultimately, I think the founding fathers gave us the plan to take God's message, to take humanity to the next level when posed with the very same threat that they were posed with during their time of revolution. So that's what keeps me going. That's what wakes me up. I don't know what's going to be at the end of this. It may not be America, but it's going to be something that the founding fathers had left for us. And it's going to be that same message and that same spirit that's going to catapult us into the future. It's going to be a totally different reality, guys. We never had free energy technology. Okay. Do you know how much that would change human consciousness on planet Earth if we had free energy technology? And we all know it's been abundant. We've had free energy technology after free energy technology throughout the centuries. But what do? They find out who did it. They take it off the market. They buy it. They do all the research and they take it off the market. So once we get out of this, we're going to have free energy, which is going to change everything. So the Constitution is going to be irrelevant at that point, but God's still going to be relevant. And we, the people, are going to be relevant. So that's what I get my mind ready for, guys. I don't think that it's going to be what we're used to. I don't think that's possible because that didn't work. That's why we ended up in this position in the first place. So, hey.
I love that you brought that up too, because the other thing too that is out there and so available are natural things instead of being drugged out. And drugs you don't have to take anymore. There's so much information out there and so many resources available to us. So in a way, it's kind of a return back to nature. And so there's really can be some good things ahead, but we may have to, like you always say, suffer through things to get to that portal.
Well, we're going to get hit over the head with a 2x4. You just look at the numbers and I always talk about the numbers, but it's just the truth, that we printed 80% of the money in the past 3 years, most vehicle defaults in American history. We're going to have the most foreclosures in American history coming up in the next few years, probably next year. Unemployment is through the roof. We got illegal migrants coming over here by the day. We're spending money on frivolous freaking wars. There's no way out of this but a tough way out of this, guys. That's just what it is. But I am optimistic because I pray every night. I pray hard. I surround myself with good, hardworking, loving people like Alice. And that's all you can do, you know. And as long as you know you're fighting, then you got nothing to be ashamed of when you get before our Creator at the end of the day. And that's where I hope you guys can come to that conclusion as well too.
No, thank you, Zeke. No, it's always it's a pleasure and an honor to do that. Listen, I think we're getting close to the end here. My battery's almost out, believe it or not, on my laptop.
Good. A good thing.
Let's see, is there anything that we needed to cover that we didn't cover? We're going to be in December, we're going to be doing the same thing. We'll be recording our shows probably Monday afternoons, and then either in the evening or the next day, Eric Williamson, our super duper executive producer, will upload them. And we're really going to we want to gear up and hardcore, because once 2024 hits, like Zeke says, we're going to have a studio and we are going to be all over the place and we have great guests anyway. We just haven't hit it hardcore yet because we've been so busy. We're just going to get through the holidays and do all that, because next year's going to be so huge. There's going to be so much happening with everything. Are we going to get and I don't mean to be just like talking about this on the air, but maybe it's something that our listeners and viewers can think about or advise us, instruct us. Do you think that we need to get our own little Chips and Salsa Arizona Instagram or something? Because one thing, Insta is more for the younger people. Facebook is more my age, 50 plus.
Well, I've been studying that, and actually Instagram is the most widely used of all the platforms. There's baby boomers, there's millennials, there's Gen Z. All three are on Instagram. Now, baby boomers specifically is all Facebook, straight up. And that's who votes.
Yeah, we're more Facebook.
Well, politically, Facebook is good because that's who votes. But Instagram is good for overall messaging and broadcasting. So, yeah. And, to be honest, we're going to have to censor a little bit on Instagram because they are extremely sensitive. I mean, Elephant in the Room podcast is already experiencing severe censorship, and they just got started. So we have to really be careful with the things that we say, but we can do it. We can do it. It's all about getting the message out there. And if we're doing this much volume of shows, hey, maybe we can go back and forth. We'll figure something out. But yeah, everybody's on Instagram. That's for sure. I learned that recently. Everybody's on Instagram.
And yeah, and I get stuff from Instagram all the way. And I do have an Instagram account. It's just like one more thing that I don't worry about because I've got so much other stuff going on. But Chipsters, if you want to advise us on that, like say, well, no, I don't think that's a good idea, or maybe you should do this. That'd be great. We welcome advice, because you're the reason that we exist, and we appreciate you inviting other people to watch and listen to us.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, that's what's going on. We're ready to wrap it up. What are we thinking here?
I think so. I'm just wanting to make sure I'm looking at my little notes in case there's anything that we forgot about. There's some good stuff, I do want to encourage you. On Facebook, we do have a group page, Friends of the Chips and Salsa Show. We're like, 650 people or something. They're on there. It's a little more intimate. I post stories there. Like one thing that if you watch, what's the guy's name? JP what's his name?
JP Morgan?
No, it's the young guy that has the red hair. And
yeah.
He had, the latest one he had was Everyone Will Be Disabled. And I thought, it's going to be like a parody or satire. No, it was real. It was real. Like they had a story about this gal who on purpose decided that she needed to be blind. So she poured Drano or something in her eyes.
Her counselor guided her into that.
It's so unbelievable, but that's how sick as society is turning stuff. But I encourage you to go there and please join that group, and you can have more intimate conversations there if you like. But I do appreciate all the support that we get. So Zeke, why don't you close it out? You're so good about closing it out with prayer, and we can do that.
Yeah. Lord, thank you so much again for having us come together to fight for you, Lord, to fight for humanity, to fight for our country. We pray that you continue to bless all those that are in our community doing what's right and fighting for the future, and you continue to give us this energy and this momentum to take our country back, to take our freedoms back for you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. So thank you again for joining us here on the Chips and Salsa Show in New Mexico. Tell your friends about us. Tell your enemies about us. I don't know. Maybe I'll get some real interesting conversation there, huh? But until then, my name is Alice Lara here in Las Cruces, New Mexico with
Zeke Rodriguez.
the Zekinator and the
And the
Sexy
sexy
New
Mexican.
Mexican. Right on. Okay,
Thank you.
so we will be back for the next show. Muchas gracias,
Okay.
and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Later, guys. See you later.